Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Zander Sprague, and I am so excited for this show. Let's start off with the thought of the day. Celebrate the rainbow. What do I mean by that? Well, today's show is all about siblings and sibling loss. And I'm a firm believer that when we experience a loss, we need to celebrate the rainbow that was our person's life. So, my sister Lucy was 30 years old when she was murdered, and I still celebrate all the fabulous things that she did in her life, who she was as a person. And I can tell you that it is so much more rewarding to celebrate all the vividness of Lucy's life than to just focus on the dot at the end. And when I bring her on, today's guest, we will talk about this a little because it's so important. Yes, we've experienced a loss. You may have experienced a loss of your own. But when you focus on all the greatness that life was, it is so much more rewarding. I'm not forgetting that I've lost my sister, but I'm celebrating her life, the things that she loved, the new organizations that my family gets to support in her memory. It is so cool to be doing stuff. And it's really fun to be able to help other people who've experienced loss discover all of the vividness in their sister, brother, son's life. I want to give you an epic update. This epic update is about my friend Warren Pearson, who is a private safari guide in Africa. You might remember seeing him in my multi-part series, Epic in Africa. And wow, what Warren does to expose people to the awesomeness of wildlife, not only in Africa, but this is really cool. In 2 weeks, he's going on a safari in South America, and my 85-year-old mom is going with him to discover all that there is, the biodiversity down in Panama. And I'm so excited for her, and if I'm honest, a little jealous. Warren creates such a great experience for you, and you get close to animals. He is a wealth of knowledge, and it's so exciting to see him doing so well. Today's guest is Dr. Heidi Horsley. She is an expert in sibling loss, as am I. She's a thought leader in it. And Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Zander. It's great to be here today, and I'm so excited to talk to you about sibling loss, and I love the awareness that you are building. And I also want to thank you for introducing me to Warren, because he is truly an incredible person that creates epic adventures.
He really does. I'll share with the audience, I introduced Heidi and her family to Warren, and they have utilized Warren's services to explore all over Africa. And I believe your sister is going on safari coming up very soon.
She is. She's going in June with her entire family, her 4 children and her husband, and they can't wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk a little about sibling loss. And one of the things that I wanted to start off with is just about 2 weeks ago, we had National Sibling Day. And it is wonderful that there's a National Sibling Day now. And I know you and I have been working hard to celebrate not only our living siblings, but also to make sure that we're celebrating the siblings that we've lost. And what are your feelings about National Sibling Day?
I love it because it gives us the opportunity to say Lucy and Scott's name, for people to know who they were, to talk about them, and for people to know that just because your sibling has died and is no longer here, they're still a big, huge part of your life. I mean, my brother's my guiding light today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And tell us a little about Scott.
Okay, well, he was a boy in a sea of girls. He was my middle brother and my only brother. We had there's 3 girls, I'm the oldest, and he was kind of our family hero before he died. So, we all adored him, etc. He was very, very athletic. He varsityed in 3 sports, football, baseball, and basketball. And he died very suddenly with my cousin. They were both 17. My cousin was driving, Matthew. My brother was the passenger, and they died in a car accident together. So, he the most important person in my life died suddenly, and that was a big deal for me. It was a big journey getting back to hope again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Heidi, can you share a little about the work that you do? You do it with your mom, and I think it's so fabulous. So you just let us know what you do.
Sure, I'd love to, Xander. So when my brother died, I felt very alone, Xander. As you know, people my age, I was 20 at the time, had never had a brother or sister die. I felt very isolated. I felt very alone. I felt like I didn't have a lot of support. Fast forward, once the internet came into play and it was here, my mom and I decided that we wanted to start a foundation called the Open to Hope Foundation, which we did 20 years ago. It's called Open to Hope. And we started doing radio shows and then went on to, public access television shows and podcasts, helping people find hope after loss. And we bring voices like yours in to ask people like you, how did you find hope? How did you not only survive, but thrive? Because we don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. We want to live epic lives. We want to go on to have joy again. And so it's important for us to bring in people that have not only talked the talk, but walked the walk.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've had the pleasure of being on your show, the podcast, and also the TV show multiple times. And it's always such an honor to be able to come on and talk about Lucy. I know you feel the same way, that any day that you get to talk about Scott or I get to talk about Lucy are good days, because it's, again, celebrating the rainbow that was their life. Just because they're gone doesn't mean that they're out of our life.
Absolutely. Scott is my biggest teacher. He
Absolutely.
still is.
Yeah, no,
He's shown me that despite great adversity, I can have joy, I can have hope, and it puts everything in my life into perspective.
it really does. It really does. I was 28 when I lost Lucy. I say all the time, there were many things I thought I might deal with in my life, but losing a sibling wasn't one of them. And I felt really alone. I remember I went from the week that Lucy was murdered, there was too many people around, to after the funeral, all of a sudden, it was like I fell off a cliff. No one was around. And one of the questions I have is, because we were both young, in our 20s, did you find that the people that were your friends all of a sudden weren't calling you and stuff when you needed them most?
Absolutely. I was in college at the time. I felt like people wanted me. After about 2 weeks, they were like, Heidi, where are you? Where's the old Heidi? It used to be find Heidi and you'll find the party. And was going through such a profound loss that it took me a long time to be, never got the same person back. I created a new normal. It took me a long time to create a new normal. I mean, when my brother died, I didn't have the support. People were telling me, be strong for your parents. The worst loss that can ever happen is the death of a child. I was being given a lot of messages about that sibling loss was not that important. And my friends had never gone through it, so they couldn't relate to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know my experience was, honestly, every sibling survivor I've ever talked to, oh, how are your parents? How are your parents doing? And that's a logical question. But not once did someone ask how I was. And I had a period where because I felt alone, I I had no one to talk to. I had no one who understood what I was going through. I started to think that my loss was less significant. But it's not less significant. It's equally as significant. It's different than my parents, but it's equally as important. One of the things that I heard from you and I use all the time, I quote you all the time, Heidi, is when we lose a sibling, we lose the past, the present, and the future. And can you talk a little about how you came up with that and what that means to you?
Well, I think we lose our history. Our siblings know things about us that nobody else knows. So we lose part of the past when they die. And then you're losing your future because you're losing the future you thought you were going to have. I mean, my brother wasn't there when I graduated from college. He wasn't there when I got married. He wasn't there when I had children. There's all these monumental life events that they are not there for. So our future is very different. And then our present, we think they're going to be with us right now in this moment.
Absolutely. I say, honestly, all the time on my podcast when I'm talking about loss, that I think we all reasonably expect that there's a period of our life where I guess someone dying is, if I can say, acceptable. Like it's as our parents are aging,
Absolutely.
both your mom and my mom, both thriving, not going anywhere anytime soon. But I think, I know, I say this is a time in our life where this is more likely to be happening. Doesn't make it easier, but it's sort of, oh, that's when this is going to happen. Our siblings, we all sort of think, oh, when we all get to 80. Although I think
Right.
as I get older, I think it keeps getting further and further out because I'm not old. I'm, but it becomes, the loss isn't easier, but we're like, oh, well, this is when this kind of happens. The same way that those milestones you're talking about, oh, here's when we graduate. Here's when we might get married, have children. Here's where our career, is peaking and stuff like that. So I think all of that's really important to remember. One of the things I know you and I have talked about quite a lot is, sadly in America, we don't deal with death at all, and we don't deal with it well. We sort of, it gets treated like it's the most communicable disease in the world. Like, oh my gosh, Heidi, you experienced death. I can't talk to you about it. I can't get near because it might rub off on me. Of course, that's
Yeah.
not true. But what are some of the things that you like to share with people about how to talk to people who've experienced a loss?
I think one thing, it depends on where they are in their grief trajectory, but one thing is early on, don't say things that start with at least. At least it was sudden, at least you have other siblings, at least, because that's not helpful. So
Yeah.
I think at the beginning, just to show up, be supportive. I mean, the best thing that anyone ever said to me after my brother died was, "That sucks. That really sucks."
And it does. And I too had that, and I'm like, it's the most basic thing, but that's what it all boils down to, is that it sucks. It does. And the other thing is, there is no miracle sentence that will make it better for me, and I don't have a miracle sentence that will make it better for you.
And sometimes people would come to me and say, "Heidi, I don't know what to say. I'm not sure what to say. I just want to be here for you." And that was really comforting to me. I'm like, "You don't have to have the right thing to say. Thank you for even saying that much."
Exactly. Exactly. And what I think a lot of people don't understand, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I might make them cry.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you're right. I might cry, but that's not a bad thing. Okay. It's actually kind of healthy. It's part of the grieving process. It may make you feel uncomfortable, but it's okay. I think so often people are like, oh, I just don't know what to say. that's okay. There is a reciprocal thing that happens when someone experiences loss, which is if you know that person, there's a mutual validation of your loss. And I think that's really, really powerful to have your grief acknowledged. I know not only as a sibling survivor, but as a mental health professional like you, we talk to people in grief all the time. And unacknowledged grief has such a profound effect on people. And
Yeah. I agree with you, Xander. It's almost like people think, well, if we bring up Scott and Lucy, well, maybe there'll be a reminder for us. We already remember, like, we'll never forget. Like, the thing that I hear oftentimes friends and clients say is I go to an event, whether it be, a holiday event, etc., and nobody says anything about my sibling that died. They pretend it never happened.
yeah,
And I want them to bring them up and say, hey, it would be really great if Scott and Lucy were here. We really miss them. We wish they were here. Just something like that is really an amazing gift you can give for your siblings. Acknowledge them.
not only that, but share stories. I encourage
Yes.
people to share stories because I've learned so much in the last 28 years about Lucy that she was 30 years old. She had a full-on life that I was not a daily part of. So when people share, I met Lucy, we did this, and look, do not canonize. I am realistic. I love Lucy so much, but she was not a saint. There were times where she was really not a nice person. There are times I'm not a nice person. There are times where you may not be a nice person. Hard to believe, Heidi. But tell the stories, even if, because I love to laugh. I love to hear the stories. It's how I keep Lucy alive in my life.
Absolutely. They're human, and sibling relationships are complicated. I mean, one of my favorite memories of my brother was that I was in college 3,000 miles away from home, and I grew up in New York. And, I was going to take a television set with me because my parents said you can take it with you to college. So I go to get it, and my brother was in high school, and he was gone for the day. He had taken the TV and handcuffed it to his bed. That television wasn't going anywhere, okay? I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So anyway, I love that story because I ended up going to college without it because I had to leave. But I like these stories. They're people, they're humans. We don't want them to be perfect. That's boring.
Well, and another thing that if you're a parent who's lost a child and you have other living children,
Yeah.
I can't compete against a dead person.
No.
And,
You've never done anything wrong again.
right. And the canonized version of, oh, they would never do that. Well, as you said, siblings we have the dirt on each other. We know
Oh, yeah.
all the secrets. So I've heard that, oh, your sister wouldn't do that. And I'm like, oh, really? Like in my head, I'm like, I got a couple stories that say otherwise. So I do think it's important that you share. One of the things that I discovered, sadly, 19 years into my journey, but about, both you and I are part of the Compassionate Friends, which, if people don't know what that is a fabulous organization for families that have lost a child. And it's, for parents, grandparents, and most importantly, siblings. Talk to me a little about what the Compassionate Friends has meant to you and what it does mean to you.
Well, I first want to give out a shout out to you, Xander, because I know right now you are on the National Board of Directors for the Compassionate Friends. You are building awareness for sibling loss. You are making sure that our needs are met in this organization. So thank you for that. I'm a past board member, and I know it takes a lot of time and energy to do this, but it's important. We need to have siblings on the board. It's meant a lot to me to be in the Compassionate Friends because I've met friends that I've kept for many, many years that have also had brothers and sisters die. They get it. People like you, Xander, where I don't really have to say that much. Just being with them is enough because we understand each other. And I have four female girlfriends that I call my Fab Five sisters. There's five of us. We've all lost brothers. We all met over 20 years ago, and we go away every year and celebrate each other and our fabulous five brothers. That's why we're the Fab Five. Their memories.
Absolutely. And I have to say that when we have our national conference, I know people think I'm going to a grief conference and I couldn't be more excited. And people it's hard for me to say grief conference because I just don't think of it as a grief conference. I think of it of like going home. I'm going to my chosen family and I get to hang out for 3 days or more with all these fabulous brothers and sisters who, they just, as you said, we get it. We get to talk about it. We get to really delve into the things that are on our mind without having to take 20 minutes to explain to our friend who hasn't lost a sibling, for them to try and help us. And it's so much better when perhaps something like, oh, my parents. And the other person goes, yep, calling me all the time. I got to check in every time I leave my apartment. And if I don't text them when I get to wherever I'm going, they start, freaking out. And, having people who understand that, to have your grief acknowledged. I know I spent many years feeling really alone. And here's a startling statistic. There are over 1 million new sibling survivors in the U.S. every year. What? So we're everywhere, and yet we're nowhere because there's not some pin or badge or handshake or something that lets each other know that we're sibling survivors. And I am passionate about raising the awareness. I want the questions when a family loses a child to not be just how are the parents, but how are the siblings doing? I think I want to raise that conversation because I think it's so important. And there's so many sibling survivors.
And Zander, the other thing is, it's amazing that sibling grief is not more acknowledged and recognized, because most of us will spend 80 to 100% of our lifetime with our siblings on the earth.
Absolutely.
They, like you said, earlier on in the show, we grow old with them. When my brother died, my 80-year-old grandfather was still alive. Like they're parallel travelers with us in life. They walk through life with us. They grow old with us, and hopefully they die around the same time as we do when we're old and we've lived a long life.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll quote you again, longest relationship in our life is with our siblings. Mm-hmm. And obviously the sibling relationship is so very complex. I find it fascinating from a psychological standpoint of how it works, how when siblings argue, you don't start off nicely. You start swinging for the fences. You start, you say the thing is going to hurt Rebecca's, feelings, the thing that she's sensitive about, and she'll say the thing that's sensitive to you. Why? Because that's the sibling relationship. But you're also, by and large, each other's best friends.
Right.
You just assume that they're going to be there. And there are those things, you talked about life events, but then as we get older, and we're dealing with our aging parents, you count on, hey, there's going to be someone else that I can talk to about my mom or my dad. And sometimes all of a sudden you go from, there are two of you, now you're an only child.
Well, it's interesting because I do it with the Compassionate Friends, see a lot of singletons, like only children that were raised with siblings that have died. And now they're at Compassionate Friends and they have chosen siblings now in the family. But yes, this is, like you said, and sibling relationships, the reason our siblings are safe people to argue with. They're safe people to disagree with. They're safe people to try on new roles with. I'll fight with my sisters because I love them. If I don't care about them, I'm not investing any energy in them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think sibling awareness is so important. I think National Sibling Day is great. If you have a brother or sister, if they're alive, call them up. Tell them something nice today. Because who doesn't like to hear maybe something you appreciate about them or something nice that they did that you remember, and when you think of them, that's what you think of. I think it's so important because sadly, they can be gone in the blink of an eye. And you want to make sure that you've always said what it is you want to say. Show your appreciation for them.
And Xander, I've got to say, ambivalent relationships can be the most difficult to heal from and to deal with after a death. And oftentimes clients will say to me, we were close, but we didn't know it then. Yeah. And once they've lost the sibling, they go, oh my gosh, they meant so much to us. And we just didn't know it because we took it for granted and we thought they were always going to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Heidi, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Always so much fun to see you and to have a chance to talk about sibling loss and all of that. Just want to give you an opportunity to tell people, because the Open to Hope is, you guys do such great work. Where can people find Open to Hope?
Well, Xander, I want to thank you for building awareness for sibling loss. You and I have been on this journey for a long time together, and I really respect you and think highly of you. And for all of you out there that have lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own. And you can visit us at opentohope.com. We have hundreds of podcasts and television shows and articles. So please, opentohope.com. And we are there for you. You're not going to have to do this alone. Thank you so much, Zander.
Thank you, Heidi. And I want to remind everyone that also compassionatefriends.org. If you've lost a child, a sibling, a grandchild, we are here to help. You need not walk alone. I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. You can email me at zander@epicbegins.com. And I'm on YouTube, I'm on all the socials. I want to hear from you and hear about your epic journey. Remember, epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.